What is chaotic? This is a question that I find myself answering to friends and people I meet all the time, but I never thought to make a video about it until now. So, whether you vaguely remember that old TV show on 4Kids TV, have a few cards collecting dust in your closet, or you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, today I'm here to explain the world of chaotic. Chaotic's origins begin in Denmark from a trading card game called Grolls and Gorks. This game was eventually turned into Chaotic Now or Never. Both of these games feature characters from the collectibles called Draco Heads. In the early 2000s, a man by the name of Brian Gannon was contacted about potentially purchasing the franchise. At the time, Gannon worked for Upper Deck and produced other games such as Yu-Gi-Oh! Gannon eventually met with the owners of Chaotic Now or Never and saw potential in the brand. Gannon attempted to convince execs at Upper Deck that Chaotic could be a success with a US audience. However, Upper Deck was cautious to bring in a new brand for the fear of it interfering with the success of Yu-Gi-Oh! So, on a leap of faith, Gannon branched off and chose to take on the project without the help of Upper Deck. Under Gannon, Chaotic Now or Never was adapted to simply Chaotic. Gannon saw the success of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And was seeking to create something similar. The only difference was Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Are based in Japan and adapted for a US audience. Gannon wanted to create a trading card game, TV show, and video game franchise that is made in the US for the US. The brand launched in 2007 and quickly found success as it pushed the envelope for what was possible for trading card games. The main draw of the trading card game was that it was fully compatible for online play. So for a kid like myself, as I purchased my first starter deck, my enjoyment of the cards didn't end with just the physical cards, but rather each card had a unique code at the bottom, and when entered online, I received a digital copy of that exact card which I could use to play with online. And even further, each creature card had what we call variable stats, meaning each of them had a minimum and maximum possible value for each stat. So you could pull hundreds of the exact same card and no two of them be the exact same. The trading card game had 5 different card types: creatures, battle gear, locations, attacks, and musics, which are like spells. 2 players would battle each other using their creatures and the other cards as support. The player with the last creature standing is the winner. With such a wide variety of card types, it allowed players to be creative in their deck building strategy and gameplay. This online connectivity is a large factor of what drove the success of Chaotic. Quickly teaching and engaging a new audience to collect and play with their cards created a loyal fan base in the US and many other countries. At the same time as the launch of the trading card game, the television show was also released. This was my personal introduction to Chaotic. Chaotic was aired on 4Kids TV with new episodes airing every Saturday morning. The show followed a boy named Tom Majors, who starts out playing the game online just like us fans. Then one day, he mysteriously receives an invite to Chaotic. Once he enters the code, he's teleported to Chaotic. Chaotic is a futuristic facility where other top-tier players can teleport to and play matches. The catch is, when 2 players face off, they don't just play with the cards. They themselves turn into the creatures they're using, and they teleport to the active battle location. Another element of this world is that players have the ability to teleport to Param. Param is a place where all of these creatures, locations, and objects exist. It's a magical world full of mystery, conflict, and adventure. When Chaotic players are in Param, they can scan creatures, locations, or objects to use them later in battle. Throughout the show, the 4 main characters develop a relationship with the creatures in Param and join them on their adventures. The television show often showed new strategies that could be implemented within the card game. Also, as the story progressed in the TV show, the new card sets reflected that. New creature types, new strategies, new locations. Even the meta of the game was directly tied to what was happening in the TV show. This connection between the show and the game created a unique bond that made the viewer feel even more engaged with the brand. Even today I feel that connection. As I look at one of my favorite cards, Maxor, I don't just see the awesome artwork and the stats, but I'm reminded of the character and the world that he existed in. I'm reminded of the locations, the character arc, and how this creature interacted with the world of Chaotic. In 2009, the video game Chaotic Shadow Warriors was released on Nintendo Wii, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and Nintendo DS. While most fans were just happy to have a new game, Shadow Warriors in some ways fell short of the success that the trading card game had. But the trading card game continued to fly high. At its peak, the TCG was the third most popular in the US, just behind Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Unfortunately though, all good things must come to an end. The common misconception held by lots of fans, including myself for a long time, was that 4Kids TV tried to claim complete ownership of all things Chaotic, and ultimately, as the rights were tied up in court, it brought the franchise to an end. However, that's not true. I was able to speak with Ganon and gain some clarity as far as what ultimately led to the end of Chaotic. TC Digital, Ganon's company, was sued, but they were sued by Upper Deck. Upper Deck tried to claim infringement in the game space, but ultimately Upper Deck lost that suit, proving that their accusations held no real merit. And that's still not really what ended the franchise. What ended it was their partnership with 4Kids TV. They clearly had a close relationship and a close partnership, and Ganon himself was even a director and an executive producer at 4Kids TV. However, in 2010, 4Kids TV declared bankruptcy, and because of their bankruptcy from failed investments from the 2009-2010 bank failures, they ultimately brought Chaotic down with them. It was just a byproduct of their bankruptcy. And Ganon did state that he was later able to gain rights to all things Chaotic, including what was left of 4Kids TV. And it's kind of bittersweet because the franchise did end and production did stop at that point, which is unfortunate because a large partner of theirs was bankrupt. However, it kind of also proves that Chaotic didn't fail for a lack of success in the market, but rather it was just bad timing with their partner. The franchise went silent with no updates for nearly a decade, until one day Brian Ganon made this tweet. Just the implication that Chaotic may return was enough to hype up longtime fans all around the world. That tweet was over 3 years ago, and we still don't have any official announcements about the return, but it's safe to say that Ganon is still working to bring it back. I've been fortunate enough to meet with Ganon a handful of times, and I've learned a lot about the history of Chaotic and the current progress of reviving the brand. While I wish I knew the exact day and time of Chaotic's return, I do not. However, I am confident that Chaotic's return is not a matter of if, but when.